Aristotle's classification of governments and constitutions. Aristotle was troubled by the instability in the Greek city-states. So to establish a stable government, he sought to develop a constitution. Aristotle studied over 158 case histories of various city-states by sending his disciples to prepare case studies of various constitutions. What is a constitution? A constitution for Aristotle was not only a basic law determining the structure of its government and allocation of powers between the different branches within a government, but it also reflected a way of life. A constitution gave an identity to the polis, which meant that a change in the constitution brought about a change in the polis. Constitution is the arrangement which states adopt for the distribution of offices of power and for the determination of sovereignty and of the end which this whole social complex in each case aims of realizing. Constitution has two aspects. First, the ethical or the aims and goals to be pursued by a community. Second, the institutional or the structure of political institutions and offices and the distribution of power. Aristotle's classification of constitutions. Aristotle has classified constitutions on the basis of two factors. First, the number of individuals ruling the state, whether it is one person ruling the state, a few individuals, or if it is a rule of many. Second, the purpose of ruling, whether the ruler is ruling for a state's interests, known as a normal form of government, or whether the ruler is looking after his self-interest, known as perverted form of government. The classification was as follows. First, if the rule is by one, then it would be monarchy or a kingship in an ideal form of government, or it would be despotism or tyranny in a perverted form. Second, if the rule is by few, it would be aristocracy in an ideal form of government, or it would be oligarchy in a perverted form. Third, if the rule is by many, it would be polity or a constitutional government in an ideal form of government, and it would be democracy in a perverted form. Ideal government. The first form of true or ideal government is monarchy, where power is in the hands of the monarch. This power enabled the monarch to take decisions swiftly and provide effective leadership. Aristotle distinguished 5 types of monarchy. A. The ruler was responsible for military and religious matters. Thus, they were constitutional rulers with limited sovereignty. This was prevalent in Sparta. B. A mixture of kinship and tyranny which existed among the barbarians. The ruler was hereditary with tyrannical powers. The rule was established legally. C. The ruler held office for life or for a fixed tenure and discharged fixed duty. It was found in the early part of Greek history. D. The ruler was hereditary, who ruled on the basis of law, and his rule was accepted by subjects. It existed during the heroic age. E. The ruler had absolute powers and he was superior to law. Aristotle compared the ruler to the head of a household. The second form of true government is aristocracy, where power is in the hands of a few wise and virtuous individuals. Rulers with qualities like wisdom, virtue, and morality take decisions for common good. Thus, it was based on virtue and other principles. Aristotle distinguished three kinds of aristocracy. A. Virtue combined with wealth and numbers, followed in Carthage. B. Virtue combined with democratic principle of freedom, followed in Sparta. C. Virtue combined with wealth and freedom, leaning towards oligarchic. The third form of ideal government is polity or constitutional government, where the supreme power was vested in the hands of a large portion of the population. In this, middle-class citizens played a crucial role in running the government. The middle-class rulers struck a balance between different groups through fair decision-making, which produced the greatest benefit for all members, thus bringing stability to the state. Perverted government. The first form of perverted government is tyranny, where the ruler abuses authority for personal advantage. The welfare of the people is not important for a tyrant. The second form of perverted government is oligarchy, where a small group of wealthy individuals control the state, where they gave importance to their interest over the needs of the people. Aristotle distinguished four kinds of oligarchy. A. The ruler ruled in accordance with law. Property was the required qualification. People with high offices should have large share of property and small offices should have low share of property. B. The ruler required property qualification. Those who were wealthy enjoyed few benefits. C. The ruler belonged to hereditary governing elite. D. The ruler belonged to a small, rich power group who enjoyed sovereign powers and ruled without laws. The third form of perverted government is democracy, where the majority exercises power of the state. A well-structured democratic system can ensure laws that are just and beneficial to all its citizens. Aristotle distinguished three types of democracy. A. The rule of moderate democracy along with property qualification. B. All citizens eligible for holding office of the government, if not disqualified by birth. Property was not the required qualification. The ruler governed in accordance with law. The governing class was not paid for performing public duties. C. All citizens eligible for holding office of the government. It included freemen, aliens, and children of emancipated slaves. Monarchy was beneficial in its original form, but when there was no effective check on the monarch's authority, it led to tyranny. When tyrants abused their authority, rebellion by a few wise and virtuous individuals led to the establishment of aristocracy. When there was no effective way to restrain their authority, it led to oligarchy. When wealthy individuals prioritized their interest over the needs of the people, large proportion of the people arose against it, giving rise to polity. Polity gave way to democracy, which may rule on the basis of emotion rather than rationality, making people fools. This was overthrown by a single virtuous man who set up a monarchy. So in this way, Aristotle's government cycle continues. Which are the best form of governments? First, Aristotle stated monarchy as the best form of government but not practicable. He was skeptical of finding a virtuous ruler. He believed that in its practical form it will be tyranny where absolute power is misused for personal gain. He regarded monarchy as an ideal form of government because of his close relation with the Macedonian monarchy. Second, Aristotle believed that polity is the best practicable government. In this form of government, middle-class citizens play a crucial role in running the government. This government balances the interests of different groups and brings stability to the state. Which are the worst forms of governments? First, tyranny. It's the worst form of government because power is exercised by a single ruler for self-interest. The tyrant is not concerned about common interest, does not obey laws, and is involved in violence and corruption. Second, democracy. It's the worst form of government because it is ruled by many. The rulers ignore the poor. This system leads to the emergence of demagogic leaders who make people fools. Criticism. Aristotle's classification of government is criticized on the following grounds. First, unscientific. Aristotle's classification is not based on scientific principles as it classifies government on the basis of quantitative rather than qualitative aspect. Second, no distinction. Aristotle has not distinguished between state, government and constitution, which is essential for a comprehensive understanding of political systems. Third, democracy, not perverted government. Democracy prevailed in Greek city-states. In spite of it, he considered it a perverted form of government because it led to mob rule or tyranny of the majority. But today, many countries follow democratic form of government. Fourth, no space for mixed governments. Modern governments are mixed governments. And in Aristotle's classification, there is no place for such governments. For example, in Britain, it is monarchy, unitary and parliamentary form of government. Whereas in India, it is republic, federal and parliamentary form of government. Fifth, cycle of change not relevant today. Aristotle's cycle of change is not applicable in modern states. For example, in USSR, after absolute monarchy, dictatorship of the Communist Party was established, whereas after World War II, Hitler's dictatorship ended and democracy was established in Germany.